For a great cup of joe, there's one thing you should know. Your morning brew can also be playful. Buff Boy Brewing guys make the temperature rise, and you surely feel naughty when you swallow our coffee. If you want some real heat, give your mouth a fine treat. You will want some more, rest assured. Buff Boy Brewing, you can't get enough of.
It's time for The Scribble, your weekly fix of celebrity chats, bizarre stories in the news, and basic random chatter with best-selling author and syndicated radio host Jeremy Bradley. Make sure your seat is in the upright and locked position and your barf bag is securely in place. Here's Jeremy Bradley.
Thank you very much, Larson. Jeremy Bradley here. Welcome to The Scribble. How many weeks have we been doing this now? That intro, we need something different. How's it going today? Thanks so much for tuning in to this 30-minute podcast, and you're in for a treat. We are about to get Saskatchewified. Did that work? No, I've been trying all day because you know what? Nothing rhymes with Saskatchewan, and I'm trying to come up with different things to hype it up. And Saskatchewan is just kind of, it's like where I'm from in Manitoba, just sort of a plain Jane bleh, right? But here's the deal. Some very, very talented and creative people are on the Canadian prairies, and we've got two of them who are going to be joining us today to talk about it. Both music artists from Saskatchewan, which is why I'm trying to come up with a cute Saskatchewan name. And we've got Codie Prevost and Jess Moskaluke. So we're going to be chatting with them about their music, both sort of a country genre-ish, for Jess anyway, and Codie definitely has some huge fans in country music. We'll talk about that coming up in just a little bit. But for those of you who might not be familiar with Saskatchewan, let's talk about it right now.
Scribble Dribble brought to you by SpeakFreeWithJB.com.
Thank you.
Check out syndicated newspaper columnist Jeremy Bradley's rants and raves in his weekly news and entertainment columns.
Yay.
That's at SpeakFreeWithJB.com. Since he's paid to not shut up, God knows why. Once again, Jeremy Bradley.
Did we actually pay him to do that? See, I think that we're going to have a nice introduction, and then all of a sudden, he goes all Larson on us. All right, so Saskatchewan is almost, not quite, the center of Canada. Where I'm from, in southern Manitoba, in Winnipeg, the geographical center, here's a little fun fact for you. Write this one down, not going to charge you for it. Just, I believe it's east of Winnipeg, is the geographical center from east to west in Canada. And then, if I'm not mistaken, somebody's going to correct me if I'm wrong, I'm sure, north to south, that's almost the exact middle of North America. So people talk about Canada being, northern, but the country is so tall. Tall? Is that even the right word when you're describing land? Oh, well. You know what? Let's talk about Saskatchewan, though. The provincial bird is wheat. They've got at least one quote-unquote professional team. It's the Saskatchewan Roughriders. They play football. Sometimes, depending on who you ask. And many of the people there have a high school education. Don't get me wrong, we do love Saskatchewan. Again, just a rivalry between Manitoba and Saskatchewan. But lots of homegrown talent from the Canadian prairies, and we're going to talk with two of those up-and-coming stars today. So let's get to the celebrity phone.
Celeb spotting on The Scribble.
He's very well known in the country music circle in Canada, especially Saskatchewan. Seriously, when we tweet back and forth, his fans are all over me. Codie Prevost joining us on the line. He's about to take Australia by storm. Hey, Codie.
Hey, how are you, Jeremy?
I'm good, thanks. How are you?
Oh, I'm doing great. Thanks for having me on the show.
Oh, no problem. Your fans love them. Bless their hearts. They're kind of crazy, aren't they?
Well, they're great. It's all about social media. And I've been able to connect with people from all over the world on there and spread my music, and it's just, it's really been an incredible experience.
We'll talk about social media, we'll talk about Australia in just a little bit, but let's rewind because some of the listeners of our Top 40 show might not be familiar with your name and your music. You're a farm boy, right? Canadian prairies. How did you get started in music?
Yeah.
Because you actually didn't get started in country music, right? You were in a different kind of music before.
Yeah, no, when I was growing up, I grew up in a little town called Archibald, Saskatchewan, and I started playing guitar, and I was influenced by my mom and my uncle. They each knew 3 chords on the guitar, and they would play about 20 songs at different family functions, and I just remember watching them and what joy it could bring to people, and I thought, that's something I'd love to do with my life one day. And when I graduated from high school, through the years of high school, I had a band, and we were a punk rock band, so we played cover songs from Green Day, Blink-182, Goldfinger, and just, lots of punk rock groups. And after graduated, I wanted to pursue music. I went into college for a year, but through that year, college met my manager, and we started booking shows around Saskatchewan for $100 a night. And one thing led to another, and before I knew it, I was down in Nashville. I took a small business loan, traveled to Nashville, recorded my first CD, and then kept touring, and one thing led to another, and now here we are. And fast forward 10 years later, it's 2014, the fourth album's come out, and just things have really grown, and it's been incredible.
It's 2015 for everybody listening, but I see what you're saying. Just had to get you on that one.
Time sure flies.
It's those time changes too, right?
They get you.
Every time. For those of you listening right now, never mind, don't worry about it. Change your clocks, that's all I gotta say. If you're in Saskatchewan, don't change your clock. But your story, though, I mean, that's what I love, is because people want to get into music, they want the instant fame and fortune. We've seen those reality shows. But let's slow down and talk about, you had like an actual business plan. Like, you really worked hard to get things set up as a business, right? Not as just sort of I want to be rich and famous really fast.
Well, for sure. When I started out, like, it was all part of a plan. Like, I started playing shows at a bar for $100 a night, just me and my guitar.
Right.
And I did this for a year or so, and I decided, I really want to take this to a new level. I'd love to record my first CD. So I had made a connection down in Nashville with a guy named Steve Fox who was willing to my album, but it was going to, cost $20,000. And I was 19 years old at the time. I never had this, and I put together a business plan, a 5-year plan, and went in to see the banks and just had no luck at all finding financing because I really had no collateral to offer at this age. And so one thing led to another, and before I knew it, I went in to see a group called Community Futures who fund rural businesses in rural communities across Western Canada. I went in to see the group and sat down with them, showed them the plan, and they invited me back a week later. They said, "We're having our board meeting. We've never invested in anything like this, but we're really impressed with what you've done. Come back in a week, bring your guitar, play us some songs, and we'll make a decision." So I went back a week later, played them a few songs on my guitar acoustically in the board meeting, and it was a week after that I got a phone call that said I was approved for the small business loan, and then from there I went to Nashville, and that first was born, which enabled me to get nominated for Country Music Awards in Saskatchewan and be able to tour and open for bands, and so it just really opened a lot of doors.
That's a lot of things people don't realize. Even like if it comes to writing books or anything in the arts, there's so many grants even that like local governments or provincial or depending on where you live, there's organizations, community groups that you're saying that whether it's loans or grants. I know when I started out my company, a long time ago, there was a Young Entrepreneurs Grant, $4,000 that they just, if you prove that you've put out your business plan and you've got a plan of attack for everything, that you can get funding that way.
Well, that's exactly what it is. All you have to do is sit down with a piece of paper and write down what you want to do. And for me, this was a big, accomplishment. It was sitting down and writing down what I wanted to do for the next 5 years of my life, because you kind of know it in your head, but until you write it down and see it every day, it's hard to make those goals come real and come true. But as soon as I started writing things down, things really started to happen. And so that's why now when I'm, doing shows and stuff, I always try to encourage people, if you have a goal in mind, make a plan, because without a plan, it's going to be tough to achieve it. But if you have a plan, you can stick to it and, have a way better chance of making your goals and getting to what you wanted to achieve.
People always say that nothing good comes from the flatlands of Canada, right? You're on the prairies, here's the guy who's making it big in Australia. From Saskatchewan, we've got the guy from Winnipeg who's made a name for himself in Los Angeles. It's prairie power, isn't it?
I think it can, things come from anywhere. I just think, you can be anywhere in the world. But if you want to do something and you set your mind to it, you can achieve anything you want to achieve. But definitely, there's so many great things that come from the prairies. And it's pretty flat when you drive across it. But, there's so many things it has to offer as well. It's all the farmland, that feeds the world. And there's just so many great things in our, in Western Canada here on the prairies.
And you probably get the question that I get a lot is, you've had all this success, why do you stay there?
I really enjoy living in the prairies in Saskatchewan. It's really central in Canada, so it doesn't matter where I have to go. If I have to get on a plane in the morning and go to Vancouver, it's only 2 hours away. If I have to get on a plane and go to Toronto, still only 2 hours away. If I go to the States, it's straight down. It just is really central, and it's really convenient to get anywhere I need to get. And it's always been home for me, and I just really love it.
But you've become too big for Canada, and you're heading to the land down under. You're smiling already. I know you are. You're happy. You're excited. Tell me about Australia and what this whole deal is that you have right now.
Well, Australia, originally, I know a guy who's from Canada who moved there, who married a girl there. And this guy was always into music and booking shows and DJing, and he just had a lot of things happening. And so I called him, and I said, I'd love to come to Australia and do some shows. I hear there's some amazing country music fans and festivals there. I'd love to get over there and do some shows. So lo and behold, 6 months later, he had about 15 concerts booked, and this past January, I spent my January in Australia, and we did those shows, and it was just really an incredible experience. It reminds me a lot of Canada. Like, the people are so supportive. Like, we were playing, like I said, about 15 shows, and people would come to the next show, and then the next show, and then the next show, and it would just keep growing. And so to see that support was just amazing. There's still CD stores there. CDs and albums still sell for $16.99 on iTunes. Like, music is just so vibrant there. And so I came home, and I ended up signing a label deal now down in Australia, and we're actually working on the second tour right now. We're working on some of the big country music festivals that are happening later this year.
Speaking of big country music, let's name drop for a second, because Florida Georgia Line, Big and Rich, Emerson Drive, you've rubbed elbows, performed, maybe I guess even collaborated in some instances. What's that like for you?
To get a chance to learn from those guys. I've always been that guy who, when I was growing up, I'd watch the CCMAs every year with just hopes of one day maybe being a part of it, maybe, somehow having maybe a song on the radio, maybe touring. It was just kind of a long shot dream at that time. But, now to be there and be involved and get to hang out with those people and get to watch their shows and learn from them, it's just, such a dream come true. I've watched those guys for years, and to get a chance to be backstage and seeing how they run their shows and learning from that is just, there's no other opportunity like that in the country music business.
It's got to be exciting, but also perhaps maybe intimidating. I'll tell a quick story. A few years ago, we had Dolly Parton. She was a surprise guest on the show. Obviously, everybody knows who Dolly Parton is, and it's one of those. Yeah. She's one of those people that you want to meet her, right? And then you have that opportunity. And you're like, holy crap! I'm kind of scared because it's Dolly Parton, and it's thrilling in the moment, and maybe it doesn't even hit you until you're actually done and it's after the fact, and you're kind of like, oh my god, I was such an idiot, or oh, I could have done this. Is there anybody that you want to meet that you would be totally starstruck with?
It'd be pretty cool to meet Keith Urban. I've always looked up to him. I've been a huge fan since he came onto the scene, and just always been a fan of his songwriting and performing. Like, I've seen him live in concert, but I haven't had a chance to meet him yet. But that's one guy that I'd be pretty excited to meet. And I'm not really sure what I'd talk to him about, but it'd be pretty awesome to get a chance to hang out sometime.
Well, he's from what country, though?
Well, I heard he's from, I thought he was from Australia, but when I was in Australia, they then told me he was possibly from New Zealand.
Oh, and yeah, those two places are not quite the same.
Yeah, they're not far apart at all, but I guess New Zealand kind of claims him when you're in Australia.
Of course.
So.
Now, at the top, we mentioned social media. You're really connected with your fans. Tell me about, you make time, you dedicate time to, like, Twitter and everything, right? To be in touch and have that back and forth with them.
For sure, I think that's important, as an independent artist. I almost feel like it's become one big family. Like, every week we go on Twitter on Tuesday nights for 1 hour from 9 to 10 Eastern Standard Time, and we chat with fans from all over the place, and we've been doing that now for about 2.5 years, and it's just awesome to see how it's grown. There's people, from all over the world in different countries that log in and chat, and, it's really become a cool thing. It's like, and we rarely talk about music, unless there's a new music video or something out, or a new album, but we mostly talk about how everybody's doing and how their families are. It's just a really cool thing, and social media has really, helped me launch my career and grow that fan base and that support system.
What's the weirdest question you've ever been asked on there?
Well, I was asked a question the other day, where's your most ticklish spot? That was an interesting one.
Okay, well, here we go. Wow, now we've got to get the answer for this one.
Well, I said my toes. The bottom of my feet are pretty ticklish.
There you go. Write that down, everybody. All right, so on Twitter, your handle on Twitter is?
It's at Codie Prevost, CODIE PREVOST.
Facebook?
It's Codie Prevost Music, and then the official website is codieprevost.com. And once again, it's CODIEPREVOST.com.
We'll be sure to check that out, and we'll tune in on Tuesdays onto Twitter. Well, Codie, thanks so much for joining us. Enjoy Australia. Have a good time there.
You bet. Thanks a lot, Jeremy.
Are you tired of commuting to a job that makes someone else rich, working harder than ever, but getting nowhere? Do you hate spending hundreds of dollars every week on daycare, having someone else raise your children? With our opportunities, you can start earning money as soon as next week. You get to be the boss, work from home, and live a happier life. At Be the Boss Network, you'll find hundreds of work-from-home opportunities that you can literally start today and be earning money as soon as next week. Go to freedom41.com and start earning money as soon as next week. You get to be the boss. Get out of the rat race. Work from home. Go to freedom41.com right now and change your life today. That's freedom, the number 41.com. Go to freedom41.com and start earning money as soon as next week. You be the boss. Go to freedom41.com.
Jeremy Bradley here, back on The Scribble. Thanks so much for listening today. You can also go to thescribbleshow.com, check out the tweets, or actually on iTunes now. We're on iTunes and SoundCloud. Look up The Scribble Show. Always awesome hearing your feedback as well, so would love to hear your tweets at The Scribble Show on Twitter. Now, coming up, we've got Jess Moskaluke. She is another Saskatchewan artist, as we are getting Saskatchewified. Was that the word that I used earlier? I don't know. I couldn't come up with anything. If you've got one better, I'd love to hear from you. Tweet me, hashtag Saskatchewified. So that's one of those days, everybody. All right, so if you're wondering what we were laughing about, when I was chatting with Codie in the last segment, we were talking about time zones and the issue was that Codie chatted with us when the times, there was the time change, right? When you set your clocks back or forward or whatever, you know what I'm talking about, daylight savings time. And so in Saskatchewan, they actually don't change the clock. And so we had arranged to talk at a certain time, and unfortunately it didn't happen because he lost track of the time. So that's where I was just teasing him a little bit. All right. You know what's also really fun, though, is your cell phone updates the time automatically, right? Everybody lives and breathes by their cell phone. We've talked about it here a couple times on the show that I have written a book called Put Down Your Damn Phone already. Now, in past weeks, we've talked about when you're at a restaurant or when you're at an airport, just the real annoyance of having a cell phone. Somebody else having a cell phone mostly. But the one great thing is that, yes, the time does change for you automatically. Now, I got a new phone not too long ago. Another BlackBerry. Yes, I'm a BlackBerry user. Feel free to boo me all you want. But what's really interesting, though, is that, and it was just, actually it was a temporary phone while I was waiting for a different one, I had to scroll through 3 pages of apps before I could actually get to the phone function on the phone. How weird is that? I'm sitting there going, you'd think that would be on the first page, right? I just need to make a call. Please, I want to make a call. Couldn't do it. Got to scroll. Second page, not there. Third page, almost one of the very last, I guess it's not an app, but icon or whatever on the screen, was the actual phone feature. How do you like that? So your cell phone is not even meant to be used as a phone anymore. And what I find really interesting is, several years ago, you wanted your phone to be as small as possible. Do you remember that? You wanted it to just be, you can fit into that little tiny pocket of your jeans, and you just carry it around so light. Now they are the size of a scientific calculator. I'm not kidding. These things are ginormous is a word I'm going to make it. Ginormous. They are huge. And so when I had a problem with my phone, the technician was going to give me a loaner phone, and it was just this big hunker. Might as well have that giant brick that my parents had however many years ago. I didn't want that. I want a small phone. Yes, it's got to be a smartphone that does email and all that other fun stuff, but I don't want to grab it and go, wait a second, is this a calculator? Is this a book? I'm just looking around the room here at what I can compare the size to. Phones are huge. So if you want to hear rants like that or read rants like that, go to putdownyourdamnphone.com. The book is called Put Down Your Damn Phone already. You can look it up on Amazon or iTunes. There you are. If you're tuned into iTunes listening to this show, scroll over to the books and get Put Down Your Damn Phone already. Do it from your phone, ironically enough. All right. We are going to go back to our Saskatchewified theme today here on The Scribble. And we just heard from Codie Prevost. Now, coming up right now, actually, her name is Jess Moskaluke, and she was just in Winnipeg not too long ago, my hometown, but I wasn't in Winnipeg at the time, so I didn't get to see her. So let's go back to the celebrity phone to talk with Jess.
Celeb spotting on The Scribble.
The Saskatchewan invasion nothing rhymes with Saskatchewan. I'm trying this entire show. It's not working. We just heard from Codie Prevost earlier, and now we have got Jess Moskaluke, also from Saskatchewan. I'm from Winnipeg, and she was actually just there not too long ago. Jess Moskaluke, you might have seen her on YouTube doing cover songs. She's got her own music now. She's joining us on the line. How are you, Jess?
Hey, I'm doing great. How are you?
I'm good, thanks. Well, I've got to say, love your music, but I think much of my staff already hates it because that's all they hear from my office for days and days at a stretch. So you're welcome.
Well, thank you very much.
Let's start at the beginning, though. I mean, a girl from a small town Saskatchewan now has the power of the internet to get noticed. So tell me how it all started for you.
You know, when it started, I was pretty oblivious to what the potential was and what was in store for me. I actually just started with a guy named Tyler Ward, who, if you frequent YouTube, you definitely know who he is. He's got, I don't even know how many subscribers, but it's a crazy amount. And I didn't know that at the time. He had a significantly less amount of subscribers at the time, and so I just started doing a couple of videos with him and got really excited. And I just remember watching the videos and watching the comments just increase in the views, and it was just amazing. There were hundreds of thousands of views on them, and I kind of stopped after that until I met Jake Coco, and we started doing more videos that way and more videos more frequently.
Well, that's incredible. Now, the one thing that I do have to ask, because I know that a lot of veteran artists sort of see the internet as threatening. Clearly, you're all for sharing your music online, right? Because you want to get noticed, you want to develop a fan following. So that's, I guess, sort of the way to go in the music business, isn't it?
I think that with the way things are going lately and the amount of technology that is that's coming out, and you never know what's going to happen, I think that, in my opinion, it's best to just not try and fight it, just try and keep up with it. And YouTube is a free service. Why not use it to your advantage, We advertise that we sell our songs on iTunes as well. So it's also a way to make money and to advertise your own music. So it's not necessarily giving away the music for free. Sure, people can, steal it off of YouTube and that kind of thing, but I just really want to be heard. And I'm not suggesting that everyone go and steal it, because obviously we're trying to make a living off of it, but I think that the more people you can reach, the better.
And in all honesty, I mean, that's how I found you, right? And the story is that I had the song Alone in my head, couldn't find the actual song on the computer, so went to YouTube, listened to the Heart version a couple times, scrolled down to see the other matches, and then found you. And now we're chatting on the radio with, a million or so people listening. So, I mean, only positives I can see from this, right?
I know, it's kind of crazy, and that's a really common thing that we heard. Oh, I was looking for Blown Away by Carrie Underwood, and yours popped up before hers, or something like that, So it's really, it's planned, like we know what we're doing, and so I think that just that experience is really important in really, truly using the internet to your full advantage.
Mm-hmm. Do you have any musical inspirations of your own?
I am a big Kelly Clarkson fan. Carrie has always been an inspiration, but I think the biggest inspirations for me come from people you wouldn't normally expect, like Pink or Eric Church. I just try and kind of take inspiration so that I don't necessarily step on anybody's toes and sounding exactly like anybody else.
Now, that's an interesting point, because we always hear about, artists taking inspiration from legends or other people established people in the music industry. And then on the reality shows, we see these people come in and say they're going to be the next Whitney or Mariah, and then try to mimic them. I don't think that could be, I mean, I guess it could be helpful for their success if they're trying to be an impersonator, but I've always figured that you have to be unique and recognizable, and not, I mean, I guess you could wear a badge of honor to say that people confuse you with Whitney or Mariah, but really it's individuality, I think. I'm not a singer or anything, but what's your take on that?
No, I think you're absolutely right, and in some cases it's unavoidable. I've heard a lot that I sound like Carrie Underwood, and of course that's a huge compliment, because I am a huge fan, and she is an influence, but I never have ever tried to sound like her, and especially in the songs that I write and all my original material, I really don't think that it's anything like Carrie Underwood.
Now, you also do, like I said earlier in the show, small town Saskatchewan, but you commute to Nashville, so tell me about that.
Yeah, I'm in Nashville about once a month, and that's where I'm doing most of my writing for any upcoming albums, or just whether it's developing my writing or just radio singles. That's where I do my writing. And it's kind of nice to keep it separate because I'm also in LA once a month doing all my YouTube videos. So that's a lot of time. And when I'm at home, then it's kind of nice to just relax and keep everything separate and catch up on things like this, like radio interviews and all that kind of thing. So it is a crazy kind of lifestyle with trying to do both a mainstream career and a YouTube career. But I really do think that it can only benefit me in the future.
And you probably have the same thoughts that I do. Central Canada, why don't we have direct flights to these places?
Right? It's so crazy, and it's really annoying because it takes just about a whole day to commute to either place when you count in layovers and that kind of thing. So, yeah, it's really annoying.
It sucks. Doing an LA red carpet, we fly out of Winnipeg at like 6 o'clock in the morning, connect in Chicago or Denver at whatever time, land in LA 3, 4 o'clock in the afternoon, rush to the red carpet, sometimes not even stopping at a hotel, just going right to the event, and then you're at the hotel at midnight. So it's a very long day. People don't realize how tough this show business thing is, isn't it?
No, it is really tough. And, I mean, there's always just things like, I guess for radio personnel too, like, I'm kind of sick right now. And that doesn't matter if I had to pick up and go to Nashville tomorrow for a show, or if I had to start making videos tomorrow. You got to, like, these plane tickets are non-refundable, so you got to kind of just pick it up and suck it up. You don't get to lay in bed and cry about it like some people are able to. It's kind of a no bull crap game, you know. You got to just take it as it goes. Well,
and I'm going to give you this tidbit here for free. Write it down. Drinking is the key, Jess. That's what it is. Drinking.
Well, I mean, there is a bottle of whiskey right beside me, so.
I should point out to everybody that it's 7:30 in the morning right now. No, I'm kidding. Tell everybody how we can keep in touch. Facebook, Twitter, you're, I'm sure, on all those, right?
Yeah, I'm on all those things. So JessMoskaluke.com would be a good place to start. It's got links to all my Facebook, Twitter, MySpace if you're still using MySpace. Twitter is twitter.com/JessMoskaluke. YouTube is the same. And my Facebook page is actually facebook.com/JessMoskalukeMusic.
And you don't want the MySpace crowd. Let's not even talk to those people because they're so out of the loop.
You know, I mean, being kind of, I don't want to use the term expert, but being okay at social media, if you guys are listening to this, I'm not saying MySpace is irrelevant, but think about getting a Twitter.
Absolutely. Upgrade to the next level, right?
Yeah.
And you know what? Actually, I'm being told, why don't you spell your last name? Because a lot of people might get that a little bit, confused.
Yeah, for sure. It's a tough little Ukrainian number. It's Moskaluke.
Oh, see, that's much easier than my Polish-Ukrainian grandparents' Signatovich. Yours is easier.
Yeah, mine you can kind of just sound out.
Yeah, that's exactly it. Jess Moskaluke, thanks so much for joining us today.
Thanks for having me.
We hear you chirping. Get scribbling. Tweet up the Scribble at The Scribble Show. Join the discussion with Jeremy Bradley. It's all going down right now on Twitter at The Scribble Show and at thescribbleshow.com.
Ever had something to get off your chest but never had the balls to say it? That's a load of crap. Speak Free with JB.com is exactly what you've been waiting for. Your chance to tell it like it is and not care what anybody else thinks. Have your say on issues of the day. Join newspaper and radio columnist Jeremy Bradley as he tells it like it is. Hundreds of thousands of people have stopped by, including some well-known celebrities who have had a chat with JB and speak candidly about what's really going on in the world. You can join them too. Have a rant or a rave. Be brave and head on over to www.speakfreewithjb.com now.
Welcome back to The Scribble. Jeremy Bradley here at the controls. I feel like doing a road trip to Saskatchewan now. Anybody else? Oh, didn't think so. Okay. No, I'm just kidding. Again, I said it earlier, there's a joking rivalry between Saskatchewan and Manitoba where I'm from, so no love lost when we make fun of each other, let me tell you. Saskatchewan, a home of great talent, as we've already heard today on the show. If you have not checked out their music yet, check out Codie, Prevost, and Jess Moskaluke. Both of them have videos on YouTube, their social media, actually their websites also have a bunch of media, so check that out. Thanks so much to them for joining us. Now, coming up next week, we're going family, all right? We're going to have some family issues on the show, because we've got Seth and Ashley from True TV's Hardcore Pawn will be joining us, you know, the rival brother and sister that they have on the show, and then Vicki Lawrence, who played Mama on Mama's Family. See what we're doing? We're keeping it all in the family there. They're joining us next week on The Scribble. Feel free to tweet us at any time at The Scribble Show, and you can also tune in to Top of the Charts and The Open Road and Entertainment Wrap-Up, the radio shows that I host. I will talk to you next time on The Scribble. Thanks for listening, everybody.
Want more Scribble? Check out thescribbleshow.com for past shows, celebrity interviews, cheapskate tips, and more. That's at thescribbleshow.com and on Twitter at The Scribble Show. The Scribble is a speak-free media presentation.
If you want some real heat, give your mind